Perjury, April 28th. Only reason to talk to Landlord at 5:30 a.m. was to ask her to stop construction after she gave me notice. It ended the night before, and I needed more sleep before driving 2 hours for an appointment I had been preparing for over a year. So now the defendant has lied under oath as of June 25th, 2020. She has used an occurrence that was caused by her nuisance against me. This began in November when she made the heat worse, then specifically chose to avoid removing snow on my steps. She showed favoritism, giving notice to other tenants about construction, shoveling the steps of other tenants, and I paid out my rent to April, and I found out that she used that money to renovate over my bedroom to aggravate me. She removed the floor first. That was the first thing that she did, so I had no privacy, and neither did she. And my car was in the shop, and she thought I was out, and I heard her discussing using the money to renovate over my bedroom to annoy me, and discussing alliances between herself and Unit 3 and someone at the clay shop, surveilling me, among many other things. She scheduled construction around my meetings that I intentionally disclosed to her to avoid noise. So I ended up getting all of my notice on construction from Unit 3. It is evident that the defendant had intent to disrupt my quality of life. Corona was impacting my ability to afford rent. I offered work for money to the defendant, like around the place, and all the work I've already done. She refused. Also walked away when I said that I was going to be late on rent, and she refused to talk to me about rent. My mom was a witness to this, and this happened on April 27th. And then at the end of that conversation, I asked her on a recording with my mom, when will the construction be over? She said, as of tonight, April 27th. And I asked her multiple times if she was for sure on that. And then she came back at 5:30 a.m. at April 28th, the very next day. I was very specific to ask her because I had a very important meeting that I had been preparing for, okay? It woke me up. I could not get back to sleep. I went to knock on her door to ask her to come back because I needed more sleep, and she was very loud. She locked the door. I tried yelling through the door. She refused to answer or explain. She said she would call the police at the very end, and I was very confused as to why. And so I told her I was recording that. I went downstairs to get ready to go sleep somewhere else because I had to drive to Toronto, and I just literally fell asleep after preparing for something, and I challenged her. She came out when I was about to leave, and I challenged her on everything that she just did wrong, and she stuck her tongue out at me. I couldn't believe it. And I asked her if she would do that to the judge, and she said that she just might. So I left. I tried to sleep in my car. I was so upset. I just recorded all that had happened between April 27th to 28th on a recording on my phone. I was just too upset. I tried to explain everything, from her not working with me on my rent or expecting me to do all of her yard work for free. And it is clear that she would now like to lie under oath with these formal papers against me on a day that I had every right to be irate. After 3 months of nuisance, sleep deprivation, and the highly important meeting that day that I was preparing for over 18 months, and I had no control over my sleep that day or for the last 3 months, and now she wants to use my typical response as someone with autism that she caused against me during a pandemic. It's all rooted in discrimination, and this happened even after I told her that I would sue her multiple times. So for her to assume our justice system is blind to these hateful and abusive power trips is very unwise of her, especially at a time like this. Signing the lease and moving in went really well. I met the defendant with my mom on September 11th. Her friend is there, who is also my old neighbor. Her friend and I talk about my old garden. It went very well. The defendant says I can do whatever I want with the gardens. She trusts her friend, who said all very nice things about me. I sent the defendant my website and references anyway to show her my work. I signed the lease and am given the keys on September 12th. The lease is very well detailed. I'm happy with it. I find out later, defendant is an ex-smoker. Unit 3 is a smoker. Lease says nothing about smoking, smells, medicine. I move in, plant $300 worth of stuff, get lots of praise for my instant improvements, and it just basically goes downhill right away. And I noticed a lot of different things, such as the screen door, all of the hinges. Everything was a little bit louder than it should be. I went through everything, made a list, and I oiled stuff. Alright, so on September 20th, I was asked to stop smoking, and this was an unexpected change in my lease. Pressures to change the lease after signing $18,000 contract. I apologized. I was uncomfortable that she would change the lease like this. However, it was a one-time thing because I was trying to quit smoking and did so in October. September 30th, 2019, I received no notice. I was sick. She wanted to come in. She gave me a couple of hours notice. I'm just like, sure, no problem, hoping that it does not become a habit. So November 2019, I had a really nice housewarming and Christmas party. I invited neighbors to my housewarming. I offered meat cupcakes and homemade lumpias. The neighbors were all out of town. I did offer them leftovers after. Beforehand, I asked permission, considering their schedules, and I asked best times and more. I offered my phone number, and it was a really great night. So between November and December, there were some heat issues, radiator issues, and she would just show up and say the water was off all day, or sometimes give me 20 minutes notice, and I started to ask her for more notice, but she continued to do whatever she wanted. Going into December, very early December, the heat did not get fixed. I complained multiple times in November. My plants were losing leaves. The defendant hired someone who broke the radiator. It just needed a wrench, but he cut it off instead. Thanks to me, I saved the second one in my unit after hours and hours of work without notice. The entire day he spent cutting the wrought iron, flooding the basement, and almost flooded my apartment. Less heat as a result. All of the construction workers have all given me red flags. She admits the radiator broke during the new floor install in my place before I moved in. That her rad guy breaks the rad below me. Almost broke my rad in my apartment. The radiators worked less after his attempt to fix them. My apartment recorded temperatures as low as 10 degrees. Some of my plants have a 15-degree tolerance. I talked about the floor when she was there. I asked her to do the floor since the floor guy broke the radiator. And I noticed the stain was coming off the floor and I might not have been sealed properly. The stain is bleeding onto my socks. She told me it was my own dirt and to mop better. I showed her the red stain on the bottom of my white socks and she looked at me that I was crazy. I asked her to start giving me notice of 24 hours and I appreciate being able to mitigate these disruptions. And she says yes, but does no. So December 16th, still no heat. My family opened Christmas presents with winter coats on. I left for 3 weeks to Europe. It was a very unenjoyable event because of all of the trauma beforehand, but my mom lived in her coat while I was away. She was treated less by the defendant. no snow removal. I was treated less by the defendant, even with the well-loved Christmas displays outside and everything that I've done to make people feel comfortable. February 2020, soup for everybody. I got better, tenants moved out, and Jen was around every day at the beginning of February. And so I had just finished making some really nice homemade healing soup for everyone. I made tons because of coronavirus. I decided, even though we weren't on speaking terms, to leave some for Jan to make amends, since she was being really offensive to me directly every time she visited since December 8th, and to my mom, and I wanted the discomfort to end. See photo. Unit 3, her friend, really praised me in front of the defendant for my amazing soup. And then right after that, she ripped the floor out above my bed and destroyed all privacy. And from here, it was just basically construction. Stomping with work boots over my bedroom, no notice, had no idea what was going on. She had plenty of opportunity to let me know. I could hear everything. Okay, the floor was being replaced at the end of April, so it took from February until May that I didn't have any flooring between the roof of my bedroom, and no notice, and I could hear people sniffling from my bedroom, so I had zero privacy due to this lack of insulation between units for like 3 months, and I felt violated considering our relationship by now. I had no idea what was going on. All equipment was used inside above my bedroom, heavy machinery, no notice, and I would have to speak to my neighbors to get notice. It was really uncomfortable. So in March 2020, I started noticing a lot of favoritism. Unit 3 received multiple tours during renovations. I received all updates from Unit 3 on construction. I planned my life around Unit 3's disclosure of construction, and I felt less than. One day I heard them talking during a tour. My car was not home, but I was, and there's no sound barrier. She clearly thought I was out. Defendant told Unit 3 she is using the $6,000 I sent to renovate over my bedroom to get me to move out. Other things I heard: Unit 3 lives for less rent, gives defendant whatever she can. Defendant takes Unit 3 grocery shopping, and these favors all started in January. The defendant made a purpose to remain on site at all times through creating favors for Unit 3. The defendant's constant presence was uncomfortable. However, the relationship between all the tenants was great, and Unit 3 and I had a really good relationships, even though she was slandering me. So I was really nervous all the time because of what I've been hearing, and I tried to be on my best behavior at all times and really make the other tenants love me. I made these meat cupcakes for everybody. Everybody really loved my tulips in my garden and my displays all year, and it always invites a lot of people in the neighborhood to ask questions, and I'm really well known already in the neighborhood for my garden. So March 2020, this is almost 2 months of construction. I had done a lot of gardening, and I decided to challenge her. I was tired of getting construction details from Unit 3, no compliments on the garden work. Defendant gave me $200 when I first moved in, now I don't get any. And she showed lots of love for the other tenants, and the construction was really impacting my life. I couldn't control anything. It seemed like when I told her about meetings, she would schedule things right when they had them. Even after telling her I would ask for rent abatement, should she stop not allowing me to cooperate or maintain my life. I told her that I would sue her should this keep up. She did not change. I continued to incur the favoritism, and the defendant was on the site all the time with the opportunity to let me know what was going on. And this was extreme noise with zero sound buffer because there was no flooring. I could hear workers sniffling. There were huge power tools over my bed early mornings. I told her that she wasn't allowed to start construction until after like 8, 9 a.m. And, she offered tours of renovations to Unit 3. All the conversations could be heard perfectly, and I had no privacy, and it was beyond a reasonable limit for way too long. Here are the text messages. I just told her straight up. I said, stop with this favoritism. And I asked her about the smells. I said, how are they? Are they really that bad about my weed or my medical marijuana? She didn't answer any of my questions, And that was the only text, March 17, that I got on the construction in writing from her, even though I asked her multiple times. She just said she's renovating. And then she said people are moving in May 1st, but she wouldn't tell me anything, even though I asked her repeatedly. I literally asked her what was going on for 2 months. This is my bedroom. Hear that? That's been going on for 2 months now. She's been ripping out the floor, redoing the kitchen, everything above my bedroom. No notices, no warning, no nothing. No idea when it's going to end. I've asked her when it's going to end. She won't tell me. I've asked to be involved in the communication of this noise, and she sent me 2 text messages since, which were just, hey, sorry for the noise, sorry for the water being cut off. She gives me 5 minutes notice when the water is being cut off. I just asked her to stop doing this, and I've talked to other tenants, and the other tenants are like, yeah, they, get all the information from her. The tenant in the top floor is constantly getting rides around the city by my landlord, so they talk all the time, and she has full communication about all of these construction issues, which has been really depreciating my quality of life because it's been going on every day, all day. And now we're almost at the end of March. I have no idea when it's going to end. She won't tell me. She's been nothing but problems. My quality of life has been depreciated now. Gosh, let's see. Problems with her have been going on since October. Yeah, I moved in here in October. So I'm probably gonna look for, if this continues, this quality of life, this favoritism, this lack of communication, this disruption of my quality of life, then I will get a rent abatement. I mean, this has been going on for a really long time now. My bed is vibrating. Hey, you guys are working on the electrical, right? I have a question.
Yeah.
Was there any knob and tube left over? Or was it all updated the last time, or?
There was some old knob and tube up in the ceiling, but it was all dead.
It was all disconnected and
Yeah.
stuff?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Cool. Yeah. An old place of mine had it, so just, anyways, keep it going. See you later. It's been going on all day. Hammering, sawing. It's like April something. It's like they're building a whole new house up there. I don't think she realized, but this is not what I paid for. I did not pay $1,500 a month to live with construction every single day, since she doesn't tell me what they're doing. There's like new guys in every day. This is fucking privilege. It's really early. On April 27th, I really needed my sleep. I had to know. I had a meeting. I needed my sleep for April 28th. I was traveling. She told me it was done and it would end on April 27th as of 6 p.m. The construction and maintenance on the unit above my bedroom. Hey, Jan?
Yeah.
When's it gonna stop the construction?
Pretty much stopped now.
Is tonight the last night?
Yeah.
So there's not gonna be any more. Great. Thank you for letting me know finally. On April 28th at 5 a.m., I had 2 hours of sleep left after just falling asleep before having to drive a long distance. I specifically recorded asking when construction would stop so that if necessary I could inform her of this duty I had should she not work around it. The defendant tells me at 6 p.m. on the 27th the construction is done. No further notice. She arrives unannounced at 5:30 a.m. on April 28th, walking around above my bedroom with heavy boots, vacuuming, dragging things out of the door. You will see all of her items as I approach the door. I knocked to tell her this is not acceptable landlord behavior, that she has to leave, that I do not have much sleep left. She locks the door, threatens to call the Look at this. Look at this. o'clock in the morning. She said it was over. Look at this. Lies. Jane, it's 6 o'clock in the morning. Hey! It's 6 o'clock in the morning? You're doing construction? And maintenance? At 6 o'clock in the morning when you told me construction was over? You need to stop working over my bedroom. Hello? You just locked the door on recording? You think this is going to be acceptable in front of the judge? So we already have on a recording yesterday that my landlord would cease all construction, and she's back the very next day at 6 a.m. doing God knows what above my bedroom again at 6 a.m. I just knocked on the door and she refused to answer the door. She's refused to stop construction. She thinks she can do maintenance on the house at 6 a.m. It's unacceptable. This is unacceptable. How dare you walk around there with your shoes on at 6 a.m. moving stuff around and doing maintenance on this house after you tell me construction is over? I work up all night and you do this? It's recording. Is that how you respond? You are not allowed to be doing maintenance on a property at 6 a.m. when the walls are paper thin. Do you realize that? Did you just stick your tongue out?
That's all I got.
Do you?
That's all I got for you, Aaron.
But the judge is going to tell you that you can't do that.
I don't think sticking out your tongue is on the books.
No, your reaction. Were you going to stick the tongue out at the judge?
I just might. That's all I
She
got.
said that she's just going to stick her tongue out at the judge. This is the kind of professionalism we're dealing with. Ripping up the floor above my bed and doing construction work. So she completely removed the barrier of the wall of all soundproofing of the entire apartment by stripping the floor within the first month. And she proceeded to work very, very slowly above my bedroom with no notice. She didn't tell me any construction was going to begin. There were days when she gave me 5 to 30 minutes of notice about water shortages. I work nights, and so sometimes I go to bed at 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning. And construction would start at about 7 a.m. And we're talking about floor sanders, we're talking about nail guns, we're talking about really heavy machinery all day for about 8 hours a day, and I became extremely sleep deprived. I asked her, because I noticed that she was giving instructions to the other tenants of when she was going to be in and out. I asked her to start giving me instructions. I asked her what she was doing. Her response is, I'm renovating. And I was like, how long is it going to take? I don't know, she says. I said, well, you're going to have to come up with a better plan because it's depreciating my life. And she goes, well, that's just the way it is. And I responded, well, you're telling other tenants in this house, and you are showing signs of discrimination. I would suggest you stop doing this because of how it looks. And she still didn't stop. The level of discrimination that I have viewed in this tenancy is irreparable. The quality of my life, I do not feel comfortable around this woman. I do not feel comfortable in my house. I am afraid of her because she continuously lies and cheats, and I don't know how I can use my apartment. I don't know how I can work. I've told her that if she would be able to tell me when she's going to work in the morning, that I could work around my schedule and not work that night until 5 or 6 a.m. And it would help me. And she refused to do it. she continued to show up whenever she wanted, cutting off my services whenever she wanted with no notice, like up to 30 minutes notice. And so I finally just approached her and said, listen, I'm going to sue you if you don't stop and start acting like a landlord. And these are the reasons why. And I explained them all. And she still didn't quite get it. And so I decided that my rent wasn't going to be on time that month. And I'm not sure how this coronavirus is going. And I'm really quite concerned about everything. And I don't know how to deal with the next 6 months in the situation that I'm currently in. So I talked to her, and, I was like, I only have a little bit of money for a certain amount of time. And then I'm not too sure how this money is going to last, considering I have $4,000 a month in expenses. And I don't know how long I might be off work for. So I offered to do some work for her. So I started edging the sidewalk to her garden. I started, edging her fucking yard. I did a lot of labor. I cleaned up all the garbage that was in the shrub in the front, the juniper. Tons of broken beer bottles, broken glass everywhere. I mean, it was a really disgusting. There were clothes. There was an umbrella in the bush. It was absolutely disgusting, the amount of garbage I saw everywhere. And she's spending 6 months a month on renovations upstairs. And she's hiring people to take the garbage out and do all this maintenance around the house. And so I asked her yesterday if she had a moment of time. I said, do you have a minute to talk? And she goes, yes. And I said, I'd like to talk to you about the garden. I've been doing a lot of work on it. And the situation I'm in, I'm just trying to show you, I can get some really cheap plants at a third of the price, so I can save you a lot of money. I can get low maintenance. And so I prepared a zero maintenance plan that would save her thousands of dollars, it would probably save her about $5,000 by the end. And it was zero maintenance, and she continued cutting me off every few seconds, and she didn't even get to hear the whole plan. And so I was just like, okay, well, the reason why I'm offering this to you and telling you about all this work I'm doing is because I don't know how I'm going to be able to pay my rent. And I'm trying to find a way. And then she walked away from me. She started to walk away. And I was like, where are you going? I don't have time for this now, she said. And so I started asking her what she had time for, and she couldn't tell me. And so I was really confused. So I started bringing up the fact that I couldn't pay the rent. I don't know where my money is going to be in the next few months. I don't know when I'm going to be back to work. I don't know what's going on with anything. And I feel like I should get my rent back for the last, since I moved in, for all of the trauma that I've experienced. And so I finally brought it up to her that I would be asking for a rent abatement, okay, and that I would be taking her to court. I gave her full warning that I would be asking for a rent abatement for her lack of notice of all of her construction, of the quality of life that's been depreciated in my life, for the discrimination, and for the constant abuse. And she looked at me and she didn't care. I went inside and I continued to cook dinner. I had a nervous breakdown. My mom was a witness, a huge breakdown. I don't feel safe in my house. My mouth is dry right now just talking about it. And, I decide to go back upstairs. She's still working on it. I go upstairs on a recording and I ask her, Jan, when is the construction done? And she goes, it's done tonight. And I'm like, are you sure? And she said yes. 5 o'clock this morning, Jan walks through the apartment with all of this equipment and her heavy boots and doesn't even take her shoes off, is stomping around, pulling all this equipment through the house, and wakes me up. I go upstairs and I knock on the door. She locks the door.
And I start screaming from the other side to answer the door because she's a landlord and this is a business transaction and I'm not her mother and she can't be treating me like this and I'm not her sister or her brother and this is not a personal deal, this is a business transaction and that she needs to start being professional about it because I've threatened to sue her. And she refused to open the door and threatened to call the police on me because she was scared. And so I left. And then I get a text message at 6:40 in the morning today apologizing for the noise and thanking me for the patience. So this is where I am now. 14 minutes of conversation, and there's more to it. I still have to go through all the text messages, all of the everything that's happened, all of the videos that I have recording of all of the noise every single day. Oh my God. I just hope I have enough evidence here because this has been one of the most uncomfortable places I think I've ever lived, and I've been in some really uncomfortable situations.
April 29th, there were bent nails from the flooring all over my parking spot. So on April 29th, while I was traveling, my mother noticed nails around my parking spot. She picked them all up and gave them to me when I got home. The next day I looked for more. I told the defendant I found more and I asked her to clean the lot. She said she used a leaf blower and ignored my request, so I looked over the whole parking lot again and found some more. All of them? Maybe so. Oh, there's another one. Oh, what's that? Alright, so the neighbors just left. I did not check under their car before. I mean, I don't think there's going to be anything else under their car just because the guy did all of the work in my parking spot. And so far none, which is good. It's sort of what I expected since all of the work was in mine, but like I don't know what's in there, but I don't think our tires are going in there. And like this, like I don't know, this all has to be, like I don't know if there's any nails in here. Like, these are twigs, but yeah, I think I got them all, actually. Here's another one. Jesus Christ. And then their trucks are over here. So looking for anything that might have fell while they were loading their truck. It doesn't look like it either. Oh, here's another one. Look at that. Right where where they park too. So this is where they park. Well, kind of where we both park. They would definitely be in there. Stick. Oh my God. Anyways, I have already looked through this now 3 times, and my mom has looked through it. And every single time that I've looked through it, I seem to find new nails. So it's very alarming. And I can't even tell what is a nail anymore because all these like fucking twigs everywhere. So it's just very alarming. May 2020, the new neighbors moved in. The defendant places a new barbecue on the top floor for tenants 3 and 2. And she offers me a lighter for barbecue on the main level. The defendant tells me that this old barbecue is for me. The new one upstairs is for 2 and 3 only. I told her to remove this explosive hazard. It's still on site as of June 2020. She has no regard for this historical neighborhood or the safety of others by even suggesting this barbecue is safe to use by anyone.